Thank you so much for coming today. So let's start out with onions. I'm just going to show you a real quick way to do onions. I've got the ends with the little things on the ends. So you're just going to cut off the ends like this. Now, as I've been over the years teaching people to cook, I noticed that a lot of times people just kind of grab their onion or their tomato or whatever they're trying to do, and they just kind of like hold it awkwardly, like I have no idea what to do with this thing. Okay, so here's the onion. We've cut it off. There's little striations this way, right? So you want to cut from top to bottom. And what that does is it makes the striations this way. So if you cut against those, it automatically cubes the onion for you into little tiny cubes, okay? So it minces it. So if you cut along with it, you're going to create yourself a lot of work. If you cut against the grain, it's just going to do the chopping for you, basically. So you cut the onion in half, and then you're just going to cut across this way. And what that's doing is helping you work with the grain, and it also makes it so the onion kind of sticks together as you're cutting. And then you're just going to cut the other way, and you just do it as small as possible. And what that does is it just turns it into tiny little onion minces, okay? And so if you do that, first of all, you've got a plan, and you can just kind of go at your onion with a plan. And then it just takes like a matter of several seconds to mince your onion, and that's in tiny little squares, okay? So there's how you do onions. Now for garlic, I couldn't find it, but in Orsingigi here, they have this thing. It's a garlic peeler, and I couldn't find one in the kitchen to demonstrate for you, but I'm going to tell you about it. You put your garlic in there, and it's just like this little tube of silicone. You put your garlic in there, and you roll it, and it just takes the skins right off, and then you don't have to spend forever like peeling your garlic. So if you're interested in checking that out, they've got it here. This is a garlic crusher. So instead of having to chop your garlic up after you've peeled it, you just go like this, put it through the garlic crusher, and it's crushed for you. This one's cool. This one they sell at Orsingigi is awesome because you just flip it around and it's got the self-cleaning device on it. So it's really cool. So there's the way to do your garlic really quick. Now with tomatoes, these are also something that people come at awkwardly. Here's the plan. You're just going to cut it into slices like this. And then you're going to take those slices and cut it into little squares. I've seen all sorts of variations of, people taking a long time to cut tomatoes, but that's just the easy, quick way to do it. Avocados. I'm going to show you the quick way for avocados. Slice it down the middle. Then you just take it like this, and you take your knife, and you just score it like this into little squares. See that? And then as you turn it, you kind of like turn the skin inside out, and you've got little tiny avocado dices that are really easy. Okay, so with that in mind, this potato skillet, I love this. This is one of those things where if I need a comfort food, if I need something that just fills me up and kind of tastes like meat, this is what I do. So I've made this sausage seasoning that tastes totally like sausage, and you guys are going to love it. It's just made out of herbs. I'll tell you what's in it. There's rosemary, sage, salt, basil, cayenne pepper, and garlic powder. And I have the recipe for you in the recipe book. All you do is mix this up, and then when you put it on your potatoes, it tastes like there's really sausage in your potatoes. So sometimes going vegetarian or going vegan is really hard because all your comfort foods have meat in them, right? And so this is easy because you make this potato fry, sprinkle on the sausage seasoning, and you'll be wowed at how much it tastes kind of like meat. So here we go. Let's turn this baby on. Now I've pre-chopped all this stuff just so you don't have to watch me chopping everything. But for the potato skillet, all you need is some of your pre-cooked potatoes. So these are your pre-baked potatoes. And again, I don't know if you guys can see the cutting board without the monitor. We're just going to dice these up really quick. So we want to make sure that cutting takes a very small amount of time and that everything looks kind of uniform and pretty. Remember, presentation is a big part of eating healthy because there's a lot of myths about healthy food out there that prohibit people from eating healthy, and one of them is that healthy food is just not delicious, right? And I think a lot of people are afraid to start a healthy diet because they're like, I don't want to be hungry all the time. I don't want to have to eat these nasty brand muffins and whatever they think healthy food is, lettuce and carrots. So we want to make sure that the food looks really good, that it smells really good, it tastes really good, and that when you're done eating, that you feel amazing when you're done, okay? So those are the goals of our healthy eating, and that you're full and satisfied and that you feel like you've eaten a really good hearty meal. So we've got our pre-baked potatoes. We're just going to cube them up like this really quickly. And I've already pre-cooked them. They take about 20 minutes to cook. So you just put your potatoes in the pan with some onion and some garlic. And again, I cut up the onion just like dicing it, just like I showed you. And we're just going to put that in the pan. And I've already cooked it up for you again, so you don't have to watch it cooking for the next 20 minutes. We're also going to put in some kale. Now, if you can add dark leafy greens to every one of your meals, that's one of the best things you can do for your health. Dark leafy greens are a superfood, which means they have more nutrition per calorie than any other food you can eat. Kale is at the top of the list of nutrition density. It's got chlorophyll in it. It's got all your vitamins and minerals in it. And by eating kale, you're alkalizing your body, you're reducing your cancer risk, you're reducing your risk for lots of other chronic illnesses, and it also, the more greens you eat, the faster you can lose weight and the healthier you're going to get. So I've just chopped up kale, and we're going to throw that in with the potatoes. And with the kale and other vegetables like the broccoli, I showed you a few weeks ago how to steam broccoli till it's just perfect. You throw it in the pan, put a little water in, stick the lid on, and you just steam it long enough till it turns bright, brilliant green, and then you stop. And that's how you know when it's done. You want to cook your greens as little as possible because they've got lots of antioxidants in them. Antioxidants are heat sensitive, so your vitamins A, C, E, they're all heat sensitive, so the more you cook them, the more vitamin loss you have. So the closer to raw you can eat them, the better. Now once the potatoes are cooked up and the kale is steamed, usually I just throw the kale in there, put the lid on for like 1 minute, and then it turns green and you're done. After that's done, what we want to do is keep the rest, oh, here's the onions and garlic that I pre-cooked. I'm going to throw that in there. We want to keep the rest of this as raw as possible, so as uncooked and as unprocessed as possible. So we're just going to cook the stuff that we need to cook, which is the potatoes, the onions, and the garlic, because sometimes it's not very pleasant eating those raw. And then we're just going to put the rest in raw. So all I've done, so we'll just pretend that this has been frying for 20 minutes, okay? And if you need a little bit of oil, you can put a tiny bit of coconut oil in the bottom of the pan so it doesn't stick. Remember, coconut oil is does not oxidize with high heat, so it's one of your best oils to cook with. Other oils such as olive oil and like pressed nut oils, those will oxidize quickly, so if you heat them up, they become carcinogenic because they can't handle the heat. So coconut oil is a great oil to cook with. We just want to heat that up, and then we're going to put the rest of the ingredients in the pan after it's cooked so they're just raw. I'm going to put cilantro in. I've chopped this up for you. And cilantro is a great detoxifier. It helps to clean your blood, and also it's a dark leafy green, which is a superfood, so we're getting as many dark leafy greens in here as possible. I've also chopped up some tomato. Let's get the juice off of there. Now, tomatoes are really high in antioxidants and vitamin C, but they're the best if they're in season and really ripe. So if you go to the grocery store and you see those like pasty looking tomatoes that are kind of pink but not really red and they're really hard, those ones are going to have not very much nutritional value in them. What you want to look for in a tomato is something that's really bright red and it's as ripe as possible. I usually get the ones on the vine because those have been vine ripened instead of picked green and ripened. So if you can get them in season and dark red and really ripe, those ones are going to be the best for you. Now, we've talked about organic versus inorganic If you can get tomatoes organic, that's the best. They're one of the dirty dozens that have a high pesticide residue. So if you can get organic tomatoes, that's going to be best for you. Local food is also the second best option if you can't get organic. I've just put some olives in here. Now you can use whatever kind of olives you want. There's Kalamata olives, black olives. I personally like using raw olives. These are olives that have not been cooked. They haven't been processed. They've either just been salted or, actually that's how most of my raw olives are, just salted and put into a jar. And olives are very high in vitamin E and your essential fatty acids. Those things are damaged by heat as well. So if you can eat raw olives, those are going to be the best for you. Next, we've got some green onions. I'm going to throw those in there. And green onions are, of course, part of the cruciferous family of vegetables. Those are anti-cancer. They're really great for your immune system, and they help with your heart health. They help you with your blood pressure and your heart health. Let's see, what else? Then we're going to just throw in, as a last, to top it off, some avocado. Oh, wait, I forgot to show you the seasoning. So we've got this sausage seasoning. There we go. Got this sausage seasoning. We're just going to sprinkle that over the top, and what that's going to do is make it taste yummy like sausage. Also in the sausage seasoning is sage and rosemary. Sage is a really good herb for helping improve your brain function. Rosemary is good for keeping you mentally alert. It's also great for your immune system. Any kind of herbs and spices, there's two great things about herbs and spices. One of them is most of them are antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral. They're really good for helping your body stay healthy and improving your immune system so that you don't get sick in the first place. Also, they are prebiotics. So if you've been into my other classes, I've been talking about probiotics, which are your healthy bacteria. Herbs and spices are prebiotics, which means that's the food that feeds the bacteria. So let's say you're eating yogurt and friendly bacteria, but you don't have any of the stuff that the bacteria eats in your body. The bacteria are not going to be able to survive. So if you can add prebiotic foods into your diet, which are like herbs, spices, any kind of fruits with pectin in them, like apples, these are the kind of foods that the bacteria eat to be healthy. So sometimes people are taking lots of probiotic supplements and they're just not working for them. Seems like they're not taking hold, and a lot of times it's just because people don't have enough prebiotics in their diet. So that's another cool thing about the herbs. And then last of all, what we're going to do is top it with a little bit of, chipotle sour cream and these avocados. Now, when you're trying to do a vegetarian or a vegan meal, the thing that's hardest, I think, is getting finished with your meal and you're done eating and then you feel like you're still hungry and you're not satisfied. And a lot of times, if you're trying to just eat, plain fruits and plain vegetables, that's going to be a little frustrating because you're not getting enough calories and you're not getting enough fat into your diet. So anytime you can add nuts or avocados or seeds to your menu plan, your vegetarian and your vegan meals are going to be not only more filling and more satisfying, but they're going to be a lot healthier too. Your body needs healthy fats to survive. That's how your brain functions best. That's how your nervous system is built up, is with healthy fats. So if you're just eliminating all the fats out of your diet on a low-fat diet, your brain is going to suffer, your nervous system is going to suffer, your skin is going to suffer. But you need to make sure you're getting healthy fats in your diet and not vegetable oils, hydrogenated oils, and partially hydrogenated oils. So avocados and olives are a great way to get those healthy fats in your meal so you'll feel more satisfied and not hungry when you're done. Now I'm going to top this off with some chipotle sour cream. I'm not going to show you how to make it, but if I was doing this, I'd just put a dollop of the chipotle sour cream on top of it right before I served it. This is made from cashews and lemons and a little bit of chipotle pepper and a little bit of salt. And you put it in the Vitamix and it blends it up till it's creamy and smooth. And did you guys taste it? What did you think? You liked it? Okay. I think putting that on top also gives it a little bit extra fat and a little more substance and a little more flavor, so you really don't miss eating meat and you feel nice and satisfied and full when you're done. Now, chipotle peppers are really great. Any kind of peppers, cayenne pepper, chipotle pepper, black pepper. If you eat it fresh and it hasn't been cooked, it really helps with aiding digestion. It stimulates your hydrochloric acid producing cells in your stomach, so it helps produce more hydrochloric acid, helps heal heartburn, it helps with weight loss, and it also helps to, if you have ulcers or any kind of stomach problems, it helps to heal those up as well. Now remember, I've mentioned this in past classes, but for people that haven't been here before, peppers, once they're cooked, all those healing properties go away, okay? So if you're gonna be getting the healing properties from the peppers, meaning healing your stomach lining, improving your digestion, your gastric, your hydrochloric acid, it needs to be raw and not cooked. So usually when I cook things, I cook it and then I put the cayenne pepper or the chipotle or the black pepper, fresh ground black pepper in after it's been cooked, and that's how it's going to benefit your health the best. Are potatoes highly acidic? It depends what you mean by highly acidic. There is a scale of what foods do after you eat them to your body. Foods can either make your body acidic or they can make your body alkaline. Generally, when your foods are raw, not cooked, not processed, those are the foods that make your body the most alkaline. When you start to process foods and cook them and like let's say potatoes, for instance, where you bake the potato, that's going to make your body more acidic than a raw potato. Potato chips are going to make your body way more acidic than the baked potato. So the more it's processed and the more of the hydrogenated oils and salts and all those other bad foods that we're trying to stay away from, the more of that in there, the more acidic it's going to be. So you have to kind of make a balance because you can make your body too alkaline as well. Like if you're only eating 100% raw fruits and vegetables, some people have a problem with that because they get a little bit too alkaline. So it's a balance that everybody needs to do individually. Everybody's body is different and each body is different from one day to the next or 1 week to the next. So just know that there's a gradient of how acidic a food can be or alkaline. And also you need to weigh in the benefits. Potatoes are pretty high in minerals like potassium. They also have a lot of other health benefits to them. So you need to weigh, you know, how much health benefits are coming from the nutrients in the potato versus how much is alkaline or acid. Different symptoms for different people, really. Maybe you can help me answer this question. Like for me, when I get really acidic, I notice that my skin starts getting kind of dry or I start breaking out. My hair doesn't work out as well. I just feel kind of lethargic and dragging, not a lot of energy. I notice that my tongue gets like that white coating on my tongue and I kind of have bad breath and those are my personal symptoms, but I know there's a broad range. And there's lots of things you can do to help your body become alkaline. Some of the power punches that you can get you alkaline really quick is vegetable juicing. So if you can juice your green vegetables like kale, romaine, spinach, and do celery, cucumbers, any kind of chlorophyll that you're getting into your diet, and especially in a juice form, is going to help. When you wake up in the morning, if the first thing you do is drink like a pint to a quart of water, you can squeeze a little bit of fresh lemon into there. Drink that in the morning, maybe put a little pinch of sea salt in there. And if you drink that first thing in the morning, that helps to get your body alkaline first thing. And it helps to improve your digestion. It helps just to get you started off on the right foot. Again, the more fresh fruits and vegetables you can eat, the more alkaline your body is going to be. So getting away from the processed foods, eating more of the whole, natural, raw, unprocessed foods, that's going to help you be more alkaline. Now, another thing about being alkaline is bacteria, viruses, parasites, they don't multiply and grow and survive very well in an alkaline environment. They do really well in an acidic environment. So if your body's highly acidic, you're going to be getting colds and flus and sicknesses more often. And if you're alkaline, your immune system's going to work better, and the pathogens are not going to be able to survive in an alkaline environment very well. On the continuum of alkaline to acid, greens, fresh leafy greens are at the most alkaline end, and then you've got all your raw fruits and vegetables, and then if you have raw nuts, those are going to be next, and those are going to be obviously more alkaline than your processed nuts, like if they're roasted and salted and processed. So raw nuts, raw seeds, especially if they're soaked. You remember how I've been teaching you how to soak your nuts and seeds, so that makes them more alkaline as well. With your grains, it just depends on how you process them. Like how I've been teaching you to soak your grains ahead of time and have them start to germinate, like the germination process makes things more alkaline as well. So it just depends on how you process your food. So if you're just going to take, white rice, that's going to be highly acidic. But if you take your quinoa and you soak it and you sprout it a little bit before you cook it, then that's going to be a lot more alkaline. Does that make sense, how there's a continuum and you just have to decide how you want to prepare your food? No milk. Milk is one of the most highly acidic foods on the planet. It contributes to like a lot of Americans' disorders right now. So asthma, allergies, even type 1 diabetes are all linked to dairy consumption. So heart disease, diabetes. So dairy is very, very dangerous for your health in most cases. If you are going to eat dairy, make sure that it's raw, unpasteurized, pasture-raised dairy. But in my classes, I try to focus on how do we eat without dairy, just because even the best dairy possible is still going to be highly acidic, and it's still going to cause sinus infections and respiratory disorders, and it can still contribute to things like type 1 diabetes and allergies and asthma. I'm a nurse, and when I was working at the hospital in the pediatric clinic, most kids that came in there with any kind of respiratory problem like pneumonia, bronchitis, RSV, sinus problems, gastric reflux, inability to eat and digest things, it was all because they couldn't handle dairy. They'd have little kids, their skin was all scabbed over with eczema and breakouts, and they couldn't eat and they threw up every day. And it was all like 90% of it was like, take the dairy away and they're fine. Get them off the dairy formula or the soy formula, and they did a lot better. So I really try to focus in this class on what can we do to get rid of all the dairy out of our diet. And then if you choose to eat dairy, fine, but I want to give you options so you can have all the comfort of the dairy without actually eating the dairy and having harm done to your body. So I'm glad you asked the question about alkaline and acid, because another one of the most acidic foods you can eat is cooked flour products. So like crackers, bread, pasta, muffins, donuts, cakes, cookies, cupcakes, all that kind of stuff. You're like, no, don't take that away from me. Don't do it. Don't worry, we'll find you healthy replacements for all of that. And that's the beautiful thing about this program, is you don't have to give up what you love. All you have to do is find a healthy replacement for it. So if any of you have something you love that you're like, I can't do the healthy thing because I can't give this up, come talk to me and I will help you find a replacement that you will love just as much. And you can give up these things that are making you sick. I know you can. So anyway, one of those things is pasta. And I just want to show you a way you can do a pasta-like dish without using refined grains and refined flours. Just an aside to this, if you don't want to do the completely raw food version, which this is, if you need pasta, the best pasta option that I've found out there is brown rice pasta. And you need to read the label really carefully, because labeling is tricky, and you can buy things that may look healthy and they may be touted as healthy, but they're not. So read the back of the package, and if it says, whole brown rice and water, and that's it. That's the brown rice pasta that you want to get if you need pasta. I'm going to show you an alternative if you just want to stay away from all those cooked grains altogether. This is a 100% raw dish. You can vary it if you want it warmed up or cooked a little bit, or like exchange the brown rice pasta for what I'm showing you, the zucchini pasta. There's lots of options how to kind of mix it up and vary it, but I'm just going to show you the strictly raw food version, and I think you'll get a kick out of it, because most people are like, wow, how do you do pasta just with raw food and vegetables? And I think you'll get a kick out of this. All right. So first I want to show you a little gadget that I love. It's called a spiralizer, and can you guys see it from where can you guys see it? Is anything blocking? Okay, so you take your little zucchinis, and this recipe works really great in the summertime like when you've got zucchinis and tomatoes coming out your ears and you don't know what to do with them all. So it's the best in the summertime when everything's in season, but I'm showing it to you now just because I want you to introduce you to the wonders of raw food that is kind of tasty and different. So you just stick it in, there's little teeth in there that you stick that zucchini on. And I'm going to show you. There we go. Watch this, you're going to love it. So you just do that, twirl it, and it turns into little angel hair pasta. Do you see that? Now if you get the zucchini on there exactly right, it will make really, really long noodles like that. You see that? So when you get it on your plate, it looks exactly like angel hair pasta. And so you can use this, and the texture of the zucchini is really nice because it's not too hard to chew, and if you do it a day ahead, it kind of softens up a little bit and it's really great. So we've got our zucchini pasta right here that's just going to be our noodle base. Now I leave the skins on because most of the nutrition of fruits and vegetables is in the skin. All the good stuff is in the skin. So if you peel it off, it'll make it look more like real pasta because it'll just be white, but you're also sacrificing a lot of the nutrition that's in the skin. Okay, who likes Alfredo sauce? Yay! I love Alfredo sauce, but it's dairy, and every time I eat dairy, I get, no kidding, an instant sinus infection. Like within 5 minutes, my sinuses start hurting, my nose starts running. So even though I love dairy, I've got to find a substitute to like calm my dairy craving, but still not make me sick. So I'm going to show you how to make a raw food Alfredo. Tiny stretch of the imagination to make this work. Sometimes I've been told that I shouldn't tell people like, this is raw pizza or this is raw Alfredo, because then they're expecting something and they're a little disappointed. So we'll just call this raw white sauce for zucchini pasta, and we'll leave it at that, and hopefully you're equally impressed. So I've soaked these walnuts overnight. If you soak them in a saltwater solution, that helps to dissolve all the phytic acid and all the enzyme inhibitors on the nuts, and then you rinse them off, and then you can digest them a lot better, and also the nutrients have been amplified in the nuts. So we're just going to do that, and then we're going to throw in some garlic, which is awesome for your immune system, some salt and pepper. Now this is raw pepper, so it's going to help with your digestion as well. We've got some oregano, nutmeg, and onion powder. And you guys will all get this right. Make sure you sign up on the sign-up sheet when you pay, because this is how you get the recipe book, is if you're on the sign-up sheet. Okay. Again, those herbs and spices are prebiotics. They're also antibacterial, antiviral. They help you keep healthy, and they add flavor. One thing about eating healthy is like people just think that health food is bland and gross. Well, let's kick up the flavor, and the way you kick up the flavor and the nutrition is with your herbs and spices. Garlic, onions, oregano, rosemary. All of these things are going to make it so power-packed full of flavor that you're not going to feel like you're deprived. Okay? Nobody wants to eat boring, bland, gross food. Everybody wants to eat yummy, like super savory, succulent, delicious food. And the only way you can do that is if you just have it bursting with flavor. Okay? What do you guys think so far? Did you taste the Alfredo? Yeah, good. So that's all. So as you can see, like this is really quick. I'm talking a lot, but you know, take your zucchini, spin it. That takes 5 minutes. If you remember to soak your nuts the night ahead, it's just about planning ahead. Throw it in the blender, and we're just going to blend this up. And this Alfredo sauce, normally when you make Alfredo, it takes a while because you've got to cook it and boil it down, and it takes a while. And this is fairly instant. You just have to put everything in the blender and blend it. I love these little citrus juicers. They have these at Orsangigi, and they make juicing citrus really cinchy. They've got these ones, and they also have some wooden ones and some stainless steel ones. So the lemon gives it a nice tart zing, and also lemon has lots of vitamin C, and antioxidants, lots of minerals. It helps you become more alkaline. So anytime you can use raw lemon, again, don't cook it, just use it raw, and it's going to have lots of health benefits for you. All right, let's make sure I've got everything in there, which I do. Now I'm just going to start out with a little water. In the recipe I say a 1/4 cup of water, and I'm just going to start out with a little. It depends on how much you soak your nuts and how thick you want it. A lot of times the zucchini pasta has a lot of water in it, so then when you put the sauce on, it kind of makes the water come out of the pasta. So I like to make my Alfredo sauce really thick, and then when you put it on the pasta, the water from the pasta kind of thins it down a bit. So I always make it a little thicker than I think I need it, and then it'll thin down with the pasta. I'm going to turn this on now. Oh, shoot. Uh-oh, what's happening? Sorry, something's happening. There we go. Now with the Vitamix, you can make this super, super creamy. If you just have a regular blender, it's going to be hard to get it creamy and kind of fool yourself into thinking it's dairy. But if you have a Vitamix, you can get it so it's creamy and succulent and just really, really delicious. Any comments about the Alfredo? Could you use that instead of a dairy Alfredo? What do you think? Yeah. You could? Could you be happy about transferring over? Now walnuts are really high in omega-3s. They're also high in components that help you with serotonin. You're improving your serotonin levels. That helps you sleep better, helps you stay calm. And what's it called? The doctrine of, oh shoot, I forget what it's called. I just had a brain fart about it. But what it means is, like, if you look at the food, it'll kind of tell you what the food does. So walnuts, think about what a little half of a walnut looks like. It looks like a little brain, right? And amazingly enough, walnuts are really, really awesome for your brain. The omega-3s feed your brain. It helps to balance your serotonin and your other neurotransmitters in your brain. This also works with things like beets. Like if you look at a beet, it kind of looks like a heart, and beets are awesome for building your blood, for heart health, and they're bright red like blood, right? If you look at, let's see, cruciferous vegetables, this is one that I learned from I think he was called the Raving Gourmet a long time ago. He was talking about cruciferous vegetables, and if you cut them, inside of all of the cruciferous vegetables, which is onions, garlic, kale, broccoli, cauliflower, all those sulfur vegetables, you see a little cross inside of those. And that's why they're called cruciferous vegetables. And those are great for healing your body, for saving you, for rescuing you from sickness. They're great for anti-cancer. They're anti-cancer properties, antibacterial properties. For instance, garlic can be used to get rid of pretty much any kind of virus or bacteria you've got. For me, when I'm sick, like one time I had mono and strep throat at the same time. And I was really sick, and I was doing everything I could to get better, wasn't working. And I started doing this garlic treatment where you crush a clove of garlic and you mix it up with a little bit of honey, and you just take that every hour. And this mono and strep throat that I'd had for months that would not go away, in 3 days it was gone because of the amazing healing effects of garlic. So cruciferous vegetables do that to varying degrees depending on which ones you choose. And but you have to, for the garlic, you have to eat it raw. The allicin, which is the component in the garlic that has all those antibacterial properties, it decomposes after about 20 minutes. So you want to crush your garlic and eat it within 20 minutes if that's the kind of results you want. All right, so we've got this luscious, creamy Alfredo, which I think is just as good as any dairy Alfredo. Love it. And I use this with my pasta because, again, you want something that's filling, you want something that's satisfying, and you want something that just kind of sits in your stomach so you're not hungry later. So we've got the pasta and we've got the Alfredo, and the next step is to make some marinara to go with it. Now I love marinara, so delicious. But with tomatoes, when you cook them, all the antioxidants are destroyed with the cooking process because antioxidants, again, are super heat sensitive. So I'm going to show you how to make a marinara without cooking it, and it's going to taste just delicious as regular cooked marinara. Okay. Do you have any questions while I'm setting this up? Okay.
Would you use a kelp noodle? Or not the right consistency?
Kelp, you could. You could. If you warm them up, they kind of get soft. So kelp noodles have kind of like a crunchy texture to them. They're a little tiny bit crunchy, but they're more like rice noodles, like the ones you get in Chinese restaurants in the soup, like the clear kind of rice noodles. That's the texture they have. So I've used kelp noodles for this before, and it works out fine. Just depends on what kind of texture you want.
Did you prefer one sauce over another with the kelp?
Usually I use the kelp noodles for Asian type dishes. That's how it works out best for me. But I've known people that use them for Italian dishes as well. Okay, any other questions? Yes?
Have you seen the quinoa noodles and what do you think?
I have not seen quinoa noodles. I would recommend looking at the back of the package and seeing what's in it. A lot of times, like for instance, soba noodles are made from buckwheat, which is fine, but they also have a lot of white flour in them too, so it's mostly white flour with a little bit of buckwheat, which makes them not so good for you. So I would check the back of the package and just see if it's made out of quinoa and water, and that's it. If those are the only two ingredients, then that would be a good option. Did I see another hand somewhere? Okay. So a really, really quick marinara. We're going to use fresh tomatoes so we can preserve all those antioxidants and vitamins. And again, this is just a super quick thing you can do. Like, if I timed myself, if I was just at home without talking and teaching and chatting with you guys, I could do this whole thing. So the marinara, the Alfredo, and the zucchini pasta in a little more than half an hour. So it's really possible to make this super quick. You don't have to wait for it to cook. You don't have to wait for it to, it's like minimal chopping because you put it in the food processor, and super quick. These are sun-dried tomatoes, and I'm going to put these in here because the tomatoes are super juicy. Did you notice how the marinara was like really thick and chunky? Well, the only way you can do that with cooked sauce is by boiling it down and boiling all the water out of it. But what we're going to do is put the sun-dried tomatoes in there, and those will soak up all the extra moisture from the regular tomatoes, and that's what's going to make it nice and thick and kind of dark.
So did you soak those first?
No, I did not. If for other recipes, if you want them to be soft, then soak them first. But because I want them to soak up all the water out of this sauce, then I didn't soak them because I want the water from the sauce to go into them. All right, and then we're just gonna have a lemon. We use lots of lemons because as we're cooking, the way to make food taste interesting when you're cooking or when you're just doing raw food preparation is you've got to make sure you get all the flavors in there. So you need to have the tart flavor, the sweet flavor, the salty flavor, the savory flavor, and forgetting one, bitter. You can leave that one out because most people don't like the bitter flavor, but that's one of your flavors. And if you can find the perfect balance between all those flavors, that's what makes your food really delicious and it makes you want to come back for more. In the fast food industry, and I know there's chip manufacturers that do this. They hire people to find the perfect combination of fat and salt and sugar so that their food is addictive. And I know they do this with chips, they do this with fast food, and it's the sweet, the salty, and the fat combined perfectly. That's what makes food addictive. So if we can kind of replicate that in our raw food and our healthy food, not to make it addictive, but just so it's delicious and we're totally enjoying ourselves and we're enjoying what we're eating and it's so delicious we want to come back for more. That's kind of the sensation we want to get. But luckily we won't have all the addictive chemicals like the hydrogenated oil and processed salt in there. But let's go with the same idea of just making things so fabulously delicious you can't resist. Put an onion in there, a couple cloves of raw garlic. This is another way to get your cruciferous vegetables in raw without being cooked, is doing sauces like this. That was onion powder. Got some black pepper. And again, you guys are going to have all these recipes in your recipe book. This is oregano. If it was summertime, I've got herbs growing in my backyard like crazy. So if it was summertime, I'd be putting fresh oregano and fresh parsley and all my fresh herbs in here. It's so fabulous. But since it's winter, not possible. That was Italian seasoning. And by the way, herbs are super easy to grow. Again, they're full of antioxidants and they're superfoods, probiotic, prebiotic, and they're easy to grow. They're weeds, so you plant them and they just kind of like take over your yard. So be careful where you plant them. But when I started growing herbs, I thought, oh, this is going to be really hard. I don't know if I can do it. And you put them in the ground and then they never go away. So you have plenty of herbs all winter if you've got a little spot to put them. So that was olive oil and a little bit of tamari, which tamari is a soy sauce substitute. Most soy sauce has MSG in it and other harmful chemicals. So if you want a soy sauce type condiment, here I'll show you. Looks like this. Now the reason I get this brand is because it's gluten-free. That's one of the goals in this class, is to get everything at least wheat-free, if not gluten-free. And it's reduced sodium, so it has less sodium, like a third less sodium than the regular tamari, and it's also gluten-free. So if that's an issue for you, there's Sanjay. So that's a good question. My personal experience with Bragg's Aminos is every time I use them, my fingers get all puffy, and I just don't feel very good. I read some research on it, and the free amino acids, there's a lot of glutamine, I think, is the free amino acid, which sometimes acts the same as MSG. So a lot of the health food experts are saying to stay away from Bragg's amino acids. I would recommend it to be an intuitive eating kind of thing. Some people can totally handle Bragg's amino acids. Eat it, see how you feel. If you start feeling kind of like puffy or dragging, or your energy dips, or you start feeling not very good, like obviously your body can't handle it. Some people can, some people can't. The experts recommend not using it, but do intuitive eating just to figure it out for yourself. Okay, and then we're gonna add. So we've got, what have we got in there? We've got the sun-dried tomatoes add like a savory flavor. The garlic adds a savory flavor. We've got salt in there. We've got all of our spices. We've got a little bit of olive oil to put the fat content in there. And I'm going to put a little bit of honey in just to make the sweet balance between the salty, the sweet, and the fat. You can use raw honey, or I've also used dates in the past. If you just soak a few dates, if you don't want to use honey, soak a few dates and throw those in there, and that'll sweeten it up as well and give it kind of a rich, sweet taste that's really delicious. And let's see if I forgot anything. I don't think so. And the beauty of raw food preparation is like it's really hard to mess it up. So let's just see how this goes. No cooking, hardly any chopping, just throw it all in there. Perfect. Now we've got our white sauce, we've got our marinara, And we've got our pasta. Now this is going to be not only super flavorful, but filling, satisfying, and it's got all of your vitamins, nutrients, minerals, and it's going to make your body alkaline. And, sorry, running out of room here. Yeah, thank you. Here we have some fresh basil. Now, I've done this before where I just threw the basil in there while the food processor was going, and then your sauce turns out to be kind of like a grayish, brownish kind of color. It doesn't look very pretty. So I always chop the basil, and then you just stir it in by hand. And then if you let it sit for like an hour or two or overnight even, the flavor from the basil just goes into the sauce, and it just infuses the sauce with that fresh basil flavor. Or you can just use it as a garnish on top. And in a past class, I showed you guys how to make Parmesan cheese out of cashews. So another dairy substitute for people like me who can't give up their cheese. And you can sprinkle that Parmesan substitute on there as well. It's made out of cashews and nutritional yeast and salt and a little bit of garlic. And it tastes just like those little cheesy Parmesan sprinkles. That will be in your recipe book as well. So just keep that in mind, that you can keep stacking on the yumminess onto your plate. What did you think about the marinara? How about a shout out? Tell me what you liked about it, or how was it compared to cooked marinara? Give me some feedback, somebody.
It feels good. Like, it feels good to eat it. And I think the flavors also blend really well with the zucchini.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I get that a lot. Like, after you eat cooked food, a lot of times, especially cooked food that's highly processed, you just feel kind of yucky when you're done. And when you're eating all raw food, you just feel more alive, you feel good, your digestion is a lot better, and you don't feel heavy and kind of get that, post-dinner blues kind of thing going on. So this is basically a salad. I have lots of people that are like, I tell them, if you need to start eating healthier, you've got to make salad your main thing for at least 2 meals out of the day. And people get tired of salads. This is a salad. All it is chopped up vegetables and fruits, and this counts as a salad. So that's pretty amazing, right? You just added a really amazing kind of different salad, and it's all raw food. So yes?
If you were using spaghetti squash,
Mm-hmm.
because that one you have to kind of cook a little.
I'm glad.
What would you suggest as to?
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you. Zucchini is not in season in the winter, but spaghetti squash is. So you could also use spaghetti squash. That does need to be cooked. So any of your hard winter squashes, it's hard to digest them and chew them if they're not cooked a little bit. So steaming the spaghetti squash or baking it, that's
you underbake it?
Not necessarily, no. So there's some foods that just need to be cooked, like squashes, a lot of times potatoes, beans, dry beans, grains. Most of the time, cooking them is the best option. If you prepare them properly, like for the grains, soak them ahead of time. Same for the beans, great. For the potatoes and the squash, just make sure you don't overcook them. You don't want to cook them till they're overly mushy. So yeah, you could definitely use spaghetti squash underneath the sauces as well. Okay, yes?
So if you don't have a food processor, does that even work in
So the Alfredo sauce only works in the Vitamix. If you do it in anything else, it'll just kind of turn out chunky and not smooth and creamy. The marinara, you could do that in the Vitamix as well. I do it in the food processor just because there's a lot more stuff going in, and I'd have to do it in several batches in the Vitamix. But I would you could blend it up as smooth as you want and then just hand mix in the basil. That's the only thing I would be worried about, is not chopping up the basil too small. More questions? Yes?
I thought it was delicious, but with my 3 children, I think that they would think that it was a little too strong.
Yeah.
You just take out some of the sun-dried tomatoes. Is that what gave it kind of the strong flavor?
There's a couple things. The more ripe and in season your tomatoes are, the better the flavor is going to be. So we're in the middle of winter, not really in season, but I wanted to show it to you anyway. So it's kind of a strong flavor, so you can take the recipe and do whatever works for you. So you can up the sweet factor by putting in a little bit more honey. You can put less sun-dried tomatoes in there. I put raw garlic and onions in there. Like if your family just doesn't like raw onions and garlic, you can saute the onions and garlic and then put it in, and then the rest of it will still be raw. So that'll take off some of the bite from the raw cruciferous vegetables. Do you think that'll do it? So then you can still have your raw tomatoes and your raw basil, and everything's not cooked, but the onions and garlic are, and that takes the edge off of them.
You said that this would make your body more alkaline, but some of the tomatoes are more acidic foods.
So good, thank you for that question. So some people misunderstand. They think acidic foods make your body acidic. That's not exactly how it goes. Like for instance, lemons are an acidic food, but they make your body very alkaline. So it's not necessarily what's going in, it's what your body does with it after your body processes it. So after your body digests a lemon, your body is more alkaline than before it started. If you have cooked lemon though, like the lemon out of the bottle, the gross stuff out of the bottle, if you eat that, your body's going to be more acidic afterwards because it doesn't have all the live enzymes and the active antioxidants and vitamins and stuff in there that helps to neutralize the acid. So fresh tomatoes are alkaline. Fresh lemons are alkaline. Once you cook them, not alkaline anymore. Did that answer your question?
I have one other question. I have a brother-in-law that's horrible cook heart, like he has every problem. He has a lot of heartburn and stuff from tomatoes and that. Is there something that you can offset with the tomatoes and that to calm heartburn?
So heartburn is, a lot of people think it's because you have too much gastric acid. It actually is because you don't have enough and your body is trying to overcompensate for not having enough. So when you eat processed foods, a lot of meat, a lot of dairy, a lot of bread, what that does is it overexerts all the cells in your stomach that produce that hydrochloric acid, and they just kind of get pooped out because they can't make enough to process all that horrible food, right? So you're not making enough, so then when you get food in your stomach, then you've got the food and it's sitting there and not getting digested, and then your body it goes to this reflex response like, oh, we got food down there, it's not getting digested, and then it pours tons of hydrochloric acid in there, and that's when you start getting the heartburn, okay? So what you need to do is prep your body and kind of prime the pump, so to speak. So one way to do that is to get your hydrochloric acid cells, producing cells in your stomach working properly. You can do that by adding the peppers to your things. You can do that with fresh lemon juice, raw apple cider vinegar. So a lot of people, if they right before the meal, they take like a tablespoon of lemon juice, a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, and maybe a little bit of cayenne pepper in there. If you take that right before the meal, what that does is it increases the hydrochloric acid, and your stomach is all ready for food to get in there. It has enough acid in there already. Then the food gets in your stomach, and then it digests properly, and then you don't have to have that emergency response like, oh, there's not enough in here, we got to put too much in and overcompensate.
Being a nurse, what is your take on the eating for your blood type? That's real big now. I have a whole list of your blood type A, this is what you shouldn't eat, blood type O. I mean, is there any scientific data? What's your opinion on that?
There's researches behind it, there's studies behind it. I find that for me personally, like I know people that it's worked for, but for me personally, it's a little too complicated. I like to focus on, let's get rid of all the processed food. Let's just replace processed food with healthy food, and that's going to get you so far. Like 90% of people's problem is because they're eating a lot of crap, eating a lot of processed food, eating a lot of junk, and eating a lot of meat and dairy and bread. So I find that it helps to get people on the right path towards getting rid of the crap and eating more good stuff. But it's not necessary. It can be a lot easier than that. I think it overcomplicates it.
I found it hard.
Yeah, it's super overcomplicating it. Really, what is it about? If you're gonna eat real food. Like that's what it comes down to. That's all you have to do. Whatever you stick in your mouth, make sure it's fresh and as raw as possible. Make sure it's raw food, it's not processed. Those 5 foods that you should never eat that we talked about, which is your hydrogenated oils, your sugars, your processed grains, your chemicals and the allergens like dairy and stuff. Like if you just get those 5 food groups out of your diet, you don't need to worry about it. And then it's all about knowing what foods are healthy, what foods aren't, only eating the healthy ones, and then it's about listening to your body and becoming an intuitive eater. So everyone's going to be different. Like one diet isn't going to work for 2 people, and one diet won't work for one person, from one year to the next either. So find out what's healthy and what's not. Only eat the healthy stuff, and then listen to your body. When you eat something, how do you feel after you eat it? Are your symptoms going away? Do you still have chronic sinus infections or stomach aches or swelling in your hands? Pay attention to all that kind of stuff. And when I started my journey of, starting to eat better and changing my diet and lifestyle, I didn't know. I felt so crappy all the time. I had a headache and a stomach ache and swollen hands and joint pain every day. Like, it just never went away. So I never knew how bad I felt until I started eating good. And then I was like, wow, I feel awesome. And then if I ate something bad, then I would, get a headache or something, and then I could pay attention. So I find that if you just learn about what you're sticking in your mouth and make good choices about that, and then start listening to the signals your body's giving you, that works just better than any complicated program that takes, lots of time and effort, and it's confusing. And I think it can just be as easy as that for most people. Now, I just thought of something with the heartburn question. Another thing besides priming the pump, getting your stomach acid up before you eat, another thing you can do is, a lot of times people with heartburn and digestive problems don't chew their food. Do you guys know this stance, right? The standard American eating, this posture, right? And you can't digest your food if you're not chewing it. The first step of digestion is in your mouth when the saliva mixes with the food, and that's when it starts to break down. I'll break down your food for good digestion. If you're just shoveling it in and eating it real quick and swallowing it, bad for your digestion, causes it increases your risk of gaining weight, having digestive disorders, having heartburn, that kind of stuff. Part of intuitive eating is learning to enjoy your food. So instead of doing this hunched over, shoveling it in as fast as I can, I've got a 15-minute lunch break and I gotta, get in as much food as I can. Start tasting your food, start enjoying your food, and you'll be amazed that when you start adding lots more fresh ingredients, raw foods, nuts, vegetables, and you just take time to taste them and savor them, you're first of all going to find out what your body likes and what your body doesn't like, and it's going to improve your digestion. You're going to get all that saliva mixed in your food. That first step of digestion is going to be ramped up, and also it's going to help you to not overeat, and it's going to help you to just get in touch with your food and just develop this more healthy relationship with your food. So I know with my daughter at home, if she doesn't want to try something or if she doesn't want to eat, we do this little thing where I'm like, okay, take a bite, stick it in your mouth, inhale, smell what it smells like, feel it on your tongue, taste it, and just have a moment with your food. And then when you start to do that, you start to notice flavors, you start to notice how your body's feeling, your digestion is better, and you start to enjoy your food. And that's really what it's about, is loving what you eat, eating really great food, and loving what you eat. And when you have that kind of relationship with your food, you're not going to be sick, you're not going to be overweight, you're not going to, be feeling crappy because of what you're eating, because you're really paying attention to the relationship you have with food. All right, next, I want to do some Middle Eastern fare. Remember how I said it's all about the flavors and the herbs and the spices. We don't want boring food, and American food is boring. Steak and potatoes, it's there's just no taste to it. So we're going to go outside of the United States and find other flavors from other different cultures. And I'm going to show you how to make falafel. These are a Middle Eastern bean little burger patty thing. I don't know what to call it. Normally these are deep fried, and this week my poor family has been eating falafel 5 times this week because I was trying to get it so it worked out without deep frying it, which was kind of difficult, but I did it. So, hope you guys like it. We're going to start out with chickpeas. These are also known as garbanzo beans. I'm just going to put this down here for a sec. Now, beans in general, they help regulate your blood sugar, and they help you lose weight. They help you feel full. They're full of protein, lots of fiber, and they're great for diabetics trying to regulate their blood sugar. So we're just going to start out with chickpeas or garbanzo beans, whatever you want to call them. Now, as part of my experiment, I tried putting them in the food processor. Didn't work. Tried putting it in the blender. Didn't work. What does work is just mashing them up real quick with a potato masher. Now, if you need something super quick, you can just get a couple cans of garbanzo beans and mash those up. If you plan ahead and you want the healthier option, you prepare your beans like I've been teaching you. You soak your beans for 24 hours in some lightly acidic water, so water with either vinegar or lemon in it. Soak them for 24 hours and then slow cook them like in a crock pot for 6 to 8 hours until they're soft. So that's going to be the best option for your health, but if you just need something quick, then grabbing a can of beans is a good way to go. Now this is also something, all three of these things I've tried to make a meat substitute for you. So most of the time, what's your options for dinner? Like all the commercials and all the cookbooks and cooking shows I see, you know, what are your options? What's it going to be for dinner tonight? Chicken, fish, or beef, right? And that's paired up with some kind of refined carbohydrate like rice or pasta or bread. So we want to totally get away from that paradigm of having meat and refined grains for your meals and especially for dinner. We want to get into a new paradigm of let's eat like nutrient-rich, totally nutrient-dense food that's going to fill us up just like meat will and just like dairy will and just like white processed grains will, but we're going to feel a lot better. It's not going to spike our blood sugar. And it's going to give us a lot of nutrients that those bread and those processed flours, it's just empty calories. And so what we want to do is instead of all those empty calories, fill it up with high, dense nutrition. Okay. So you get a workout too, like as I'm cooking dinner. Yeah. I'm also getting a workout. It's great. So this recipe is super simple. Garbanzo beans and then onions just chopped up really small like I showed you how to do before. And some parsley chopped up really small. Some cilantro chopped up really small. Now I told you cilantro is a blood cleanser and it's great for heavy metal poisoning, like if you're trying to get mercury or any other kind of heavy metals out of your body, cilantro does that. Parsley helps with kidney health. It helps you to dissolve kidney stones and just improve your kidney and your urine health. We also want to put in some turmeric. Now this is a lovely yellow spice that has been a big hit with the pharmaceutical industry as of late because it's got a component in it called curcumin, and that is a really great anti-inflammatory. And so they're extracting their curcumin from turmeric and putting into a pill and giving that to people that have arthritis and other problems where they need anti-inflammatories. If you just add it to your food, you're going to be getting that anti-inflammatory effect. And this is cumin. Now remember, we want to spice up our meals and make them just bursting with flavor, and cumin is a great herb for that. It's used not only in Greek food, but in Mexican food, used in chilies, that kind of stuff. We've got black pepper, salt, and some fresh garlic. We're going to use this garlic press. I love this. Now I'm just going to give you a couple little ideas about garlic. Sometimes, especially when I'm cooking for this class and we're using like 500 cloves of garlic in one day, it gets kind of tedious peeling them all. So you can get at Costco or the grocery store, you can get bags of pre-peeled garlic. So if you're one of those people that just doesn't have time, like if time is one of the things that's making you so you don't want to be in the kitchen, getting pre-peeled garlic saves you minutes, might be important to you. Now, if you just do it like this, it makes a nice little patty, kind of like if you're familiar with Indian food, like those little fried pakoras. So if you just leave it like this, you can just throw it in the oven and bake it and make some little pakoras, and they turn out really tasty. But we're not making pakoras, we're making falafel. So what we're going to do is add a little bit of starch, because what's going to happen is the water's going to come out of the onions, and it's going to make it kind of a lot softer and wetter. So we need something to dry it out and hold it together. This is arrowroot powder. You can get that at the health food store. And arrowroot powder is great. It got its name because Native Americans used to use it. Like if somebody got hit with an arrow, they would put that in there and it helped stop the bleeding and it would help take away the infection. So this is great. It's one of the, it's made from the starch of the arrowroot, and it's one of the flours that helps to thicken things up. You can use it instead of cornstarch, like if you're cooking something and want to thicken it up, like gravies or sauces or whatever. Works just like cornstarch, or you can put it in things like this where you just want it to get thick and stick together. The veggie burgers that we did last class, you put arrowroot in those, and that's what holds it together instead of the eggs. Most veggie burger recipes call for eggs to hold it together, but the arrowroot powder will hold your stuff together. Now, as I tried this 5 times this week, it still was a little bit too wet, so I found some garbanzo flour. I found it at the bulk section of the health food store. It's just garbanzo beans ground up into flour. So I put that in there, and it just made it so it held together a little bit better. If you can't find garbanzo flour or arrowroot powder, I know these are kind of weird ingredients. If you can't find that, you can just use oat flour, which you just take oatmeal, like the rolled oats, stick it in the blender, make it into flour. You can throw that in instead. It's not going to make it stick quite as well, but it'll still work. Or you can just use any kind of whole grain flour, like spelt flour, or if you have whole grain bread that's dry, you can crumble it up into breadcrumbs and use that. So like in any of my recipes, if it calls for something weird that you don't have, or it's hard to find, like the garbanzo flour and the arrowroot powder, just put it on your list of things to look for next time you go to the health food store. And then just use something else, like oat flour works great, or whole grain flour works great as well. If you're not trying to avoid eggs, you can also, like in the veggie burgers, you can throw an egg in there. I wouldn't do it for this, but for that you can. So that's it. You just mix it up, and then you take this. I'm not going to do it because you don't want to wait and watch them cook for 20 minutes. Make little balls out of them, and then you just pat them flat like that. You stick them in the oven on a cookie sheet. Usually I put a little bit of coconut oil on the cookie sheet, and bake them for about 20 minutes on the first side. Flip them over, and then another 10 minutes on the other side, and they'll just get brown on the outside, and then you're done. You can also fry them in a pan, but I'm the kind of person that doesn't want to be standing over the pan flipping things over. So I like just put them on a cookie sheet, line up 20 of them on a cookie sheet, throw them in the oven, and then I can do something else while they're baking, and that takes a lot of my personal time out of cooking. I like to cook where the food just takes care of itself and I don't have to take care of it. So that's one way to do it, is by baking instead of frying it in a pan. These are also great if you want to freeze them and make them ahead. So if you make a big batch of these, bake them, throw them in the freezer, then all you have to do is grab them out of the freezer, defrost them, and you've got an instant meal. These can be used in pitas. Traditionally, you take a pita bread and you stick the falafel in the pita bread with lettuce, cucumbers, tomatoes, red onion, and some tzatziki sauce, and you can eat it as a sandwich. At our house, we like to just do it as a salad, so we just do everything but the pita, chop up the lettuce and all the vegetables, throw some fresh parsley on there, put the tzatziki sauce over the top as a salad dressing, and then just break up the falafel, and it makes a really, really amazing salad that's filling because you've got the beans, you've got your fiber, you've got your flavor, and put that on the salad, and it makes a totally filling and satisfying salad, so you can have salad for your main meal if you do this. Let me just show you how to put this together. Well, actually, you guys already had it, right? Mm-hmm. What'd you think? Love it. Yeah? Thank you. You can clap. So again, make it into a pita or a salad, whatever you like. And do we have time? Yes, we have time to do the tzatziki sauce. Let's do this real quick.
Janae, could you dehydrate those as well?
The falafel?
Yes.
You can, yes. They just won't get as brown, so you can totally dehydrate them. I don't, just because the beans have already been cooked. You know, so most of the stuff in there is cooked already. But yes, totally dehydrate them if you have a dehydrator. Oh, I was going to show you this, but we'll skip it. I'll skip doing it and just tell you about it. If you don't have the time to mash up the beans and do that, like just what I did, it takes like 20 minutes, you know, from the time you start chopping to the time you put it in the oven, about 20 minutes. If you don't want to, they have pre-packaged falafel mix, and all you do is add water, stir, make it into the little patties, and then put it into the oven. I will caution you, however, we went and looked, and out of the 5 brands of falafel mix that I saw, there's only one of them that didn't have hydrogenated oil in it or sugar or some of the stuff that we're trying to avoid. So read the ingredients really carefully. I actually found this at an Indian market, and that was the healthiest one I found. Even the ones at the health food stores had hydrogenated oil and corn syrup and all sorts of junk in them. So just because it's at a health food store doesn't necessarily mean it's healthy. Just remember that. Always read your labels. And on this label, it says ground chickpeas, ground fava beans, spice blend, which is probably your cumin and turmeric, baking soda, salt, and sesame seeds. So that is a great ingredient list that doesn't have garbage in it. The ones I found at the health food stores had a lot of crap in it. So read your ingredients carefully. ZIYAD. I don't know if, I just found it at a little tiny Indian market. So look around, read ingredients. You can even get stuff like this online if you want to buy several boxes at a time. This just makes it really easy. Add water, stir, put it in the oven, and you're done. Where's one other product piece of information? Last week when we did the yogurt last week, right? People were asking me about which probiotic I used. And I just basically used whatever's in my house, so I didn't think it mattered. So we did a little test. My kitchen has turned into the mad scientist laboratory the last week. We did a little test, and I used 3 different kinds of probiotics. I went to the store, and I got a yogurt culture, like that's what it was for making your own yogurt. And I got this, and then I got one other one that had, this has mostly lactobacillus in it. The other one had a good mix of lactobacillus and bifidobacterium. So we tried all 3 of them, and we did some single blind taste test studies. And what we came up with was this one was the best. The other 2, people just wrinkled their noses at, and this one was the one people liked the best. So I'm going to leave this up here if you want to see what brand it is. It's from Good Earth. What you can also do is just look at the ingredient list on the back, and I'm sure there's similar ingredients in different brands of probiotics. And this was just basically a 1/4 teaspoon of powder per quart.
Can I get the name of that fine engineer? I've been waiting for it.
This is from Good Earth, and it's called Supreme Adophilus. I'll leave the bottle up here so after class you can come up and check it out and look at it. So hopefully that answers your questions about which acidophilus to use. Either you can use this brand or look on the back and just get one with similar ingredients. Remember, there's lactobacillus and bifidobacterium. Those are the 2 types of bacteria, and each of those 2 types has several different strains. So for instance, this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 strains of lactobacillus and 3 strains of bifidobacterium. And I found that getting as much lactobacillus and as little bifidobacterium as you can in the blend works the best for yogurt and cultured stuff. So if you have any more questions about that, I'd be happy to answer. Here's this if you want to look at it after class. Okay. Tzatziki. Now this is, I've been told this can be kind of boring, the falafel, like it's good, but it's a little bit dry and it might get boring after a while, as well as the salad. It's all about the sauce. I had some people over for dinner the other night, and that's what they kept saying, and they're like, that's what makes it so delicious. It's all about the sauce. So if you can just find some delicious sauces to put on your salads and other foods, it increases the nutrient value, plus it just makes it super delicious. Now here's one of the yogurts we made for our little experiment. This is made out of coconut milk. So for those of you that weren't here last time, dairy-free yogurt, and you get all the benefits of the healthy bacteria in yogurt with none of the sugar and no dairy. It's really, really delicious. Last time I showed you how to make parfaits out of it and lassis and other kind of yummy stuff. So there's that. We're going to also put in some lemon, of course. Now, because this is raw and live cultures, anytime you can eat probiotic-rich food, which is your cultured foods like yogurt, eating that with a meal helps you digest it way better, and it also helps you to assimilate the nutrients in there. So, you know, you can have something that's full of nutrients, like a super healthy food that's full of nutrients, but if your body isn't able to digest it and assimilate all those nutrients, it's not going to do you any good, okay? So what probiotics do is they not only ramp up your immune system by getting lots of friendly bacteria in your gut and helping you with your protective barrier, but it also improves your digestion a lot and helps you to be able to assimilate all those good things that you've got in your healthy food. Now you can make tzatziki with either dill or mint. I think the one you guys ate today was dill, yeah. So traditionally, either one is fine, or you can throw both of them in there, and that's kind of what spices it up a little bit. So we've got lemon, yogurt, a little bit of raw pepper, which is also great for your digestion, garlic, great for your immune system and digestion, and I think, we were supposed to put salt in there, but there's no salt here. Okay, we'll pretend I put salt in there because it goes in there, and all you do, blend all that up. Now, some traditional recipes for tzatziki, it tells you to put your cucumber in there and just blend it all together with the cucumber in there. I like to leave my cucumber a little bit chunky. So you can either chop your cucumber really small or throw it in the blender and have that be part of the mix. And then put in a little mint. Now, I don't like to blend the mint up in there too much, because then it just makes a green sauce, and it's supposed to be a white sauce with little green specks in it. So if you care about that kind of stuff, just put the blender on real slow. Let's see. Whoa! Like that, without splashing. And just pour that over the cucumbers, and what you want to do is just let that marinate for a couple hours or overnight. And that's going to help the flavor from the mint come out into the yogurt, and the flavor from the cucumbers come out, and it's just going to like mix them all together, really delicious. And then you use that for your salad dressing or to dip your falafel in, or you can use it for a lot of different things, mostly salad dressings and dips. Okay. Any questions? Tzatziki. I had to practice all week saying that because I couldn't say it for a long time. T-Z-A-T-Z-I-K-I. Tzatziki. Okay. Question?
So does tzatziki sometimes have milk in it?
Yeah, traditionally tzatziki is made with Greek yogurt, which is a yogurt that's got extra protein in it. So it's made out of dairy. Because we made this out of yogurt made out of coconut milk, it's dairy free. So you can either, you can either get like the organic plain yogurt from the store if you're eating dairy, or I prefer just to stay away from dairy and make it out of the coconut yogurt. And for those of you that weren't here, coconut yogurt, all you can do is like empty the cans of coconut milk into a jar, throw in some probiotics, shake it, and put it in 105, it's like a place where it's about 105 degrees. I put it in the oven with a light bulb in it. 75-watt light bulb usually keeps the oven just the right temperature. So I just put it in there for 24 hours, and then you've got yogurt. All it is dumping it in a jar, shaking it, putting it in the oven for 24 hours, and you've got yogurt. And then keep it refrigerated after that. All right, any questions? How about some feedback from the class? Can you guys do this? Can you change your diet? Can you change your life? Is this making it easy and fun for you? Okay, that's my goal. I want to make eating healthy, fun, and easy and accessible for anybody. So if you guys have feedback for me, like, Janae, you can make it more fun or easy or accessible by doing whatever. I totally love that feedback. Please give it to me. If there's specific recipes or types of food that you want, please let me know. I've got my calendar up on my website up through May. So if you go to cafejanae.com, I've got every class from now until May up with the topic and the date and the time and everything. So please, I need your help spreading this message to everyone. 2/3 of Americans are overweight or obese. The people that are overweight and obese are suffering from diabetes and heart disease and arthritis and fibromyalgia and all sorts of different disorders. Kids are like the obesity rate of children is just skyrocketing right now. Kids have so many problems with allergic disorders and asthma and chronic illness, even just with kids. I want to spread this message to everybody. So the more you can make these changes in your personal life and share those changes with your family and friends. Bring people to class. I need help spreading this to the community and to everybody, because this is really what America needs right now. And the world needs, the industrialized nations of the world, is just to learn how to eat real food. So if you're gonna eat real food. Make sure you love it. Make sure it tastes delicious. Make sure it's awesome, and make sure you feel great when it's done. So thank you for coming.